Hey, welcome everyone to another episode of Nita Nay's Books, Author's Point of View. This is a very special episode as we are getting ready to enjoy my mom's book, Embrace the Dawn to Live Again. So let's get into it. See you soon. So we are back getting to know me a little bit better, but I will not be talking about myself on this video. I'm actually going to be talking about the author of this book, Embrace the Dawn to Live Again, which is my mom. Um, my mom decided to write this book um, after I started writing Mercy Undercover. I guess, I was her somewhat inspiration, but my mom is very artistic. I mean, she really could draw by hand. She could bake cakes and decorate them. She would crochet dolls, make beautiful dolls. And so in her artistic thoughts and processes, she decided to write this book, Embrace the Dawn to Live Again. And initially, in her thought, just like unconditional counsel, where you're talking about the main character, the mother, and then it transitions to a child. Um, the same thing with this particular with this particular book, because Embrace the Dawn was the original book, and then she wanted to continue on with the daughter, which is To Live Again. And so it transitions from Beth, the mom, to Bess, the daughter. And so as she gave me her book, because she actually had typed it out on a typewriter. So she gave me the book in order to transition it onto the computer and get it in a Word document. And so when I decided to take this book, um, I decided as I was reading it and I was doing the initial edits for it, just to combine the book. And so that's how Embrace the Dawn to Live Again um, came to be. And so we are getting ready to um, talk about the book and its characteristics. Embrace the Dawn to Live Again. We are in the thick of things. This book, again, my mom wrote this book. And it is roughly currently around 97,000 words. I did some initial, editing of that nature, but as I have grown in regards to my writing and how to write and how to really format and look at sentences and speaking parts, I've decided to kind of do a final edit before I even send it to a professional editor. But this book takes on romance, murder, mystery, and the scene is set in the initial book with Beth and Phil. Is set in the 1940s, 1940s, 1950s, around that time era. And it's a big romance and everything is good until they really get into relationship, and she finds out that she has to express and tell Phil what happened with her past. um, Her past includes her husband being accused of murdering his lover while they were married. And so this is, kind of a suspenseful romance, suspenseful thriller, really diving into family dynamics, what happens when someone that you love is accused of murder, and do you believe that person? Do you stand by that person? Um, and so as the book transitions from Beth to Bess, it transitions from Beth to Bess, from the theater and into fashion. So, during the time that Beth is getting her life back, and she's making decisions about where she's going to be, whether she's going to be in her hometown, or she's going to continue with her life with Phil. She makes the decision to be with Phil. um, and there's some dynamics and things going on within that aspect of the book. And so when she leaves, she actually leaves her and Lily and her daughter Bess in this fashion world that they're creating. And so Bess comes pretty much into her own in regards to the fashion world, and she falls in love with this um, international fashion designer. And you know I don't want to give it all, but things happen. And so in her case, it's really finding love in all the wrong places, uh, spaces and times, and things of that nature. So it's a pretty exciting book. And now we are getting ready to do a reading from Embrace the Dawn to Live Again. Bill, I felt the same way too. Only after so long and time went by, you said little to me. I figured I was just one of the cast, and our relationship was purely business. No, Beth, it was never like that for me. I just didn't quite know how to approach you until the other night. I kissed her gently as her arm tightened around my neck. When I came up for air and laid my face to hers, I felt her cheek was wet. Alarmed, Beth, honey, what's wrong? Nothing, Phil. I'm just happy. For a time, I can be happy. I wanted to ask her what she meant, but I decided to hold the questions for the time being. I asked what her favorite pastime was. Walking along the beach, feeling the sand beneath my feet, listening to the birds as they fly over the sea, diving for food, feeling the breeze blow in my face and hair. And I think at night it's more peaceful, less people, and I feel that the world and its problems, my problems, no longer exist. Problems? What problems could she possibly have? I was thinking this when she said, could we go to the beach later today if you have nothing else to do? I smiled and said, of course. I kissed her cheek and said, how about we get up, go have some lunch, do a little grocery shopping so that I can prepare a fabulous dinner tonight for you. Again, she had that content look, and I received that pretty smile. We left my apartment a little past noon. We ended up at the shopping area, which looked like a villa, and the cafes had tables and chairs out front if you decide to take advantage of the warm, beautiful day as you dine. I watched her every move as I listened to her walk about the place. She'd been here in the US and the places she would love to see overseas. France had always been her dream place to go, but she never could afford it. So that is the end of this reading for Embrace the Dawn to Live Again. So now we are getting ready to get into our writing topic. And the writing topic for today is, do you have what it takes to be a writer? Um, I first want to say that I make no critique about who can be a writer and who doesn't, who can or can't. Um, but there are, I've in my research and reading, there are some characteristics of being a writer. Um, some are gifted and some have to work at it. I mean, I know for me, I have to work at honing in this gift, honing in this passion and love for writing and telling a story. So um, here is just a minor list of characteristics of a writer. Can you tell a story? Do you grasp the right words and use them correctly? Do you believe in the story that you're telling? Are you willing to take risks in your writing? Do you have the perseverance and persistence and a commitment to writing a beginning, middle, and an end of a story? Be willing to take constructive critiques or criticism about your writing. If you get criticism, be okay with getting it because that helps you get better. It helps you determine, maybe I have some holes in my story or my plot isn't flowing correctly. And so, you know, determining if you have what it takes to be a writer is is really a God-given, idea and thought, within that you have to discern to determine, am I going to pursue this? And if I'm going to pursue this, I can't, you know, uh, put it to the side. If you have that burning desire within to really write and get your story out, even if it's a story about yourself or it's a made up story, you have to be willing to get a finished product. We know that, you know, discouragement can set in, fear can set in, all of these things can set in to discourage us from completing something. We may start it, but we'll put it away. Life happens, like I talked about last week. And so you have to have that consistency, that persistence, that diligence in not only putting the story down on paper, but be willing to learn as you go to get better. Be willing to learn how to get better. Be willing to learn not to take shortcuts, but to to do your writing in excellence and have the mindset that this is what you want to do, whether you're doing it part-time or full-time, it doesn't matter. You still have to have those characteristics to be a writer. And so, you know, the final thought in this writing topic in do you have what it takes to be a writer? God has to put that within you. And when God puts that within you, then you have to act on it. And so, you know, you have to determine whether you're willing to put in the time and the effort and the sweat and the tears and you know, to complete a manuscript and be happy with the story that you have told. And once you complete that manuscript, be willing to self edit. You know, one of my instructors told me you have to be a ferocious self editor. And so and be willing to say, okay, this is not my strong point. This is editing is not my strong point, and be willing to give that information, your manuscript, to someone else to be that professional editor that you need. And so with that, I'm going to transition into our writing resource, which is Fiverr. And I am going to share my screen to kind of give you an idea of what it looks like. If you've never used it, Fiverr is a great resource. And so let's get into our writing resource. So this is Fiverr, Fiverr. I'm already logged in. And so you have all of these: Fiverr Pro, Try Fiverr, Business, Explore, Messages. I may have a message in here somewhere. I have used vendors to illustrate some of the things that I wanted. I've used Fiverr vendors to create my intro and outro videos to my Nita Nay's book author's point of view. I've even had an editor look at my Apocalyptic 7, Salvation's Cry. And so, you know, you as the person, unless you are just proficient in, you know, self-editing and editing and doing a professional editing process on your books, because a lot of times we look and we read and we read it out loud, but we can't always catch everything. And so you have, you know, whether you're traditionally publishing or you're self-publishing, if you're, especially if you're self-publishing, you need to have another pair of eyes to look at your manuscript to see if there's any holes, if they have questions about, okay, what's going on in this particular area. And that's what one of the editors did for me for Apocalyptic 7. So I had to go back and really, you know, look from beginning to end how my story flowed, and to, you know, fill any holes in the plot or any gaps in questions that she may have had. So with Fiverr, you have vendors of all sorts. You have graphics and designs, digital marketing, you have writing and translation, you have video and animation, you have music and audio, you have programming and tech, you have the business, lifestyle, and that is industry. So I'm going to hit on the writing and translation only because that is the area where we're going to be talking about tonight. So say you need to find an editor. So you would go to proofreading and editing. You can click on that, and every vendor that does that, and there are vendors from across the world, you know, from one end to the other, you have several in different editors that you can identify with, or get estimates from. I know for me, most of my books are Christian, so I want a Christian editor that will give me, the professional editing, but also um, give me that when I use the scripture, they understand where what I'm writing or why I'm putting this particular scripture here. So, but it doesn't, it's, you can do it by Christian books, you can get ghost writers, you can, um, there's all types of editing, uh, professionals on here. You have to decide which one is best for you, best fits your genre, what you write and how you write. Um, just to give you an example, my 95,000 word apocalyptic 7 cost me 300 for someone to just do a pro, an initial professional edit. So this is Fiverr. It is a great resource, especially for self-publishing, um, or whenever you before you send it to your publisher, you can use these services. If you need logos, again, you want a little commercial for your book, this is where you can come and you can get estimates, uh, in regards to pro services, local sellers from where you live at, online sellers. And so they have this resource is really great that that you're able to access, and it doesn't cost you anything to join Fiverr, but it does cost you for the service. And so when you order something from a vendor, you have to pay for it, but that person doesn't get the money until your project is completed. So, again, do your research, look for the person that is best for you, that can give you the best price. Again, all of these may say start at, um, but it doesn't necessarily mean that your particular manuscript is going to be $10. It's $10 to start off with. And some of them do by word count, some of them do by pages. So it just depends on what your budget is and what you can afford. And to get, the best product for your money that you're spending. Okay, so that is it for Fiverr, and this is our writing resource for this video. So now we are getting ready to be in the Q&A portion of this video. And the question that came in, it says, if you had to do something different as a child or teenager to become a better writer as an adult, what would you do? And so my thought in this is, if I had to do it all over again, I definitely would have paid more attention in my English classes. Specifically the grammar part of English, the periods and the commas and the semicolons and the dashes. And so using them properly, sometimes I have a, a problem with, putting them in the right place. And so that's where a professional editor can really, get you in that place to have a professional looking document. And so um also I would probably more than likely, if I really thought about writing, full time, and had I known that I was going to be writing, writing 5 manuscripts or 5 novels, more than likely, I would have, in my college, maybe veered to doing journalism or taking writing classes. And so I know you know, a lot of people or a lot of writers have done journalism, or they've, you know, invested in taking writing classes as some of their general electives. So that is what I would probably do differently. Um, just really paying more attention in English class, and, you know, taking some writing courses and, you know, or journalism, either one. So we are done for this video. Thank you for joining me, and we'll be right back. So we are back. Next week is The Ghost of Slavery's Dance, No More Chains. Come back for this new episode, as I talk about how this book came about, and, um, you know, some of the aspects of where we can get our creativity from, because it doesn't necessarily always come from within, but it may come from something you see, something you read, something you hear, or something you experience. So see you next week for The Ghosts of Slavery's Dance, No More Chains.